some new shocks for the Comanche here. I didn't buy, they're not lower shocks or whatever, not shorter shocks. They're just, there's only a couple inches difference, so I just bought whatever shocks I could find that were cheap, which really isn't a thing much anymore. They're from Detroit Axle on eBay. Well, no, I bought these on Amazon. You can get Detroit Axle stuff, Amazon or eBay. Always had pretty good luck with it. Most of the stuff they sell. It didn't come with the lower 9 bolts, but that's okay. 5/16 bolts, I think. Fit. Yeah. 5/16 bolts, and I'm going to use lock nuts. Let me just go ahead and take that tire off instead of fighting around it. Jacked it up by the body instead of the front axle. I'm getting in there fast enough. Oh yeah. That wasn't bad. don't know, maybe it'd be okay. My push button starter inside has quit working on me for some reason. Gotta jump it out here. Well, the test drive was pretty short-lived. I ran out of gas, so I had to go around and get some gas. When I was originally putting this thing together, I was having issues with it being higher on this side and lower on that side. Well, now that I've kind of driven it and it's settled a little bit, now I'm a lot lower on the driver's side than I am the passenger side. So I got to figure that out. Tires are rubbing, obviously. I knew that was going to happen. But I need to get I've got it set up with a push button start. It has the ignition key in it. So that just turns on the power. And then this puts power to the coil. Then I have fuel pump, fans, and then I have this push start. And it has stopped working for some reason. I have to go out there and jump it at the relay. So I'm going to pull I need to take this apart and get that switch out there and see what's going on. Okay, there's our push button switch there. There's the contactor in the back. We'll put our multimeter on the, you see the little speaker looking deal there? That's for continuity. And when you have continuity, you'll hear that beep. So we'll go on both sides of the switch where our wires are, like that. Push it. So our switch is working. So let's see, we'll go to DC volts. See, we're on volts here. It's echoey in here. We're on DC. And we will find a ground somewhere. There's a lot of metal in this dash, but I don't know if anything's any good. I know I've got 12 volts here. Key on. Okay, so I've got a good ground down here. So then I have 12 volts there. So I don't have 12 volts to my switch now. On either side of my switch. Okay. the other day I had to fix a bunch of wiring down here for the lights. So I'm assuming that I've got something in the wrong spot. Pretty sure that's just for the lights, for the 3 gauges up top. Nope. So that's good. I feel like that was over here, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's... Let's see what that does. That's what it was. So I had knocked that out of the holder when I was down here working, and I had put it in the wrong spot. Now, I'm pretty sure that I wanted it. Oh, that's right, yeah. I'd stuck it in the accessory. So yeah, I'd had to put the key in the accessory. Yeah, okay. Well, that was easy. Other than having to rip the dash apart. Okay, so now I should be able to key on, ignition on, fuel pump. Alright, piece cake. Took it out for a test drive. See, first test drive I went on, I ran out of gas. And then it sat for a day. I go get gas, put gas in it. Drove it up and down the road several times, just trying it out. Everything's, you know, it's shifting good, it's running good, drives good with it being lowered now. Bump stops are back in. Everything was doing pretty good, and I was coming up the road here, and I looked in the mirror, and I was just in a big, just nothing but a blue cloud of smoke behind me. Looked at the oil pressure gauge, it was on 0, shut the motor off, coasted in the drive, and I left a trail of oil. There's oil puddles of it on the intake. It's all over the hood. I mean, it's all over everything. Is covered with oil. And actually, I hadn't even pulled the dipstick. I'm almost certain it dumped every bit of oil out of it for whatever reason. Yeah. I think there might be a little bit on the ad down there at the very bottom of the stick. Oop. Let me see here. I'll wipe this off. So getting ready to put more oil in it and fire it up, figure out where it's coming from. So I've got the breather out. Yeah, there's no oil in there. It come out, looks like it come out somewhere around the filter. The filter's not loose. I don't know if it pushed if it blew the filter gasket out for some reason. Or if the rear main pushed out and it just blew that. I mean, that oil is on everything. Oh, it's on the pipes. It's on the rear shocks, rear diff, everywhere. I mean, it pushed it all out. I think there might be a couple, or there might be an oil gallery, oil plug, oil, was it oil galley plug that may have come out. Whatever it was, I mean, it had some pressure behind it, and it pushed all the oil out of the motor, so I'm trying to get that figured out. Well, I should have known what the problem was. That right there. That goes to the oil pressure gauge. The fitting is right there. Blew out of there. It looks like it melted for some reason. Well, not for some reason, but because they're junk. So I will be replacing that with the brass tube instead of this shit plastic that could have burned this truck down. I've always heard people have trouble with these. I've never had a problem with them, but normally they're like a clear plastic tube that's a little harder than this stuff. Super flimsy. So yeah, the oil was squirting out of that little hole right there and just blasting everything. So I have to get that fixed. I have to order that tube. I don't have any of that stuff, and replace that line and get her going again. Alright, I'm back on the Comanche. See, this will be the same video, but this is 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, that I took it out for a test drive, and this cheap plastic oil pressure line for the gauge actually melted. The end melted in the fitting in the intake and blew out and covered everything with oil, and somehow didn't burn the truck to the ground. So ordered this copper tubing in place of that plastic stuff. So I got it run through a grommet there in the firewall. Snaked it up through the dash. It's coming right up there, right to the oil pressure gauge. I think in the future, if I was going to do this again, I would just put that oil pressure gauge outside somewhere, just to not have all this fuss, because I've got oil where that line blew. I got oil down here. I didn't realize, but it had been kind of leaking up here. I got oil up here. So yeah, I think I would be tempted to not put those in the interior anymore. And this thing really wouldn't matter where I put it. I could put it out there on the cowl and it would be perfectly fine. There's oil out there on the windshield. I got everywhere. So we'll get the fitting put in. I'm using that port right back in there, right off the distributor. So those kits, the oil pressure gauge comes with these fittings, and then so did this line by itself, because you need to replace your barrels in your fittings. Once you've tightened those together, they go in there. When you tighten it down, it pushes it into the cone, smashes this, kind of like squeezes it down on your line. Once you've compressed those once, they're not reusable. In a emergency type situation, maybe you can get it to work again, you know, if you're out side of the road or whatever. But you just need to replace them. You can generally get those by themselves. You don't have to buy the whole fitting again. So I think this was the one off the other line, so I'm going to use the one off the new line. I just don't trust any of that old stuff now. So we'll put some PTFE on the threads. You can use thread tape. I had thread tape on the other one. Thread tape works fine. Like I said, they come with several adapters for different applications. So this is like the fitting that I just put in. So if you needed that for your block, then this would screw into that. And then you have, if you've already got a nipple coming out of your block, that would screw onto it. And you have your barrels. Let's tighten that fitting down. This is not the most convenient spot to put it, but that's where I'm putting it. Try it out here. It might cut it. I'm just afraid it's just going to smash it. Just go real easy. Yeah, that'll be all right. Yeah, I cut it. All right. Wasn't sure. All right, so a whole lot. Alright. So when you use that kind of cutter, it sort of smashes the end down a little bit. And there's normally a, looks like this, on the end of your tubing cutter. That one doesn't have it. But if you just kind of go in here and spin it around, that opens your pipe tube, whatever you got, back up to the original size, pretty much. So then you need your fitting. Is it this one or is it? Yeah. I think that's off of that plastic line. It looks bigger. But that's new. That's old. Oh, that's way bigger. That's the plastic line. Okay. Put your barrel on, and then this is the ferrule. The flat side goes to the nut. The cone side goes to your fitting. Slide that on there. And we're just gonna kind of figure out how we want to bend it, make it look halfway decent. Don't want it wrapped around plug wires. It's kind of run on its own path. Put some pressure on your tube to keep it pushed down in the barrel. And then start tightening it up.